Okay, today's video is going to be about changing the wheel seal on the drives. If you watched another one of my videos when I changed the kingpins and brake shoes, replaced the wheel seals on the steer axle of the truck, this time it's going to be a little different. Yes, I did show you how to replace the wheel seal, and once I get the drum off, which the drum and the hub all have to come off together on this one. Once I get that off, it's going to be the same procedure as I did on the hub on the front steer axle, as far as getting the seal out and going ahead and putting the new seal in. But to get to that point, this is going to be a little different, because the drives, you got dual wheels on the back, and this old of a truck has what I call inner and outer lug nuts, which means you take 10 lug nuts off, you pull the outside tire off, you take 10 more lug nuts off, you pull the inside tire off. Well, with this style, I've always gotten confused between inboard and outboard, which one's which. But on this style, you have to pull the hub along with the drum. And which means you got to pull the axle, and granted you got to pull the axle no matter which style it is, but instead of you pulling an 80-pound drum off, setting it aside, and then taking a 75-pound hub off and working with it, you got about 150 pounds of drum and hub and wheel bearings and everything you got to work with all at one time. Well, luckily I got a transmission jack sitting right here inside the garage. It's right behind the camera. You can't see it right now. You'll see it later on. And what I'm going to do is, once I get the axle out, and once I get the brakes backed off, and once I get the tires off, I'll put the transmission jack underneath and jack it up and put some blocks there so the drum cannot roll on the transmission jack. And once I get the axle nuts off, then I'll be able to slide the drum, hub, and use the transmission jack to support it as everything comes off. And you're going to see that in the video. But that's the quick view, quick explanation of what I'm going to be doing here. Alright, I've already taken the lug nuts off on the outer tire, so it's ready to come off. So we're going to get at it. Take the chrome accessories off. Yeah, there was chrome lug nuts on it. I already took them off. And like I said, I took all the outer lug nuts off. And now the outside tire is ready to come off. Once I get this outside tire off, then I've got 10 more lug nuts to take off. Okay, now you can see I got 10 more lug nuts to take off, and then I'll take the inside tire off, and then I'll start the camera back up. Okay, I went ahead and I got both tires off, and I got all the nuts off. A couple of studs came out, which on this style makes it easier, because these little cone shaped pieces actually go in here over the stud like that, and then they go in the hole, and the nuts push them in, and that's what actually locks the axle in, and they are a bit of a pain to get out. But like I said, when the studs come out, it brings out this little cone shaped piece with the stud, which makes it a whole lot easier. As right here is one of the studs that come out, and you can see how the nut's still on there and the cone stayed on with it, which makes it easier coming out. One thing I did not mention, a lot of these inner and outer lug nut style types with the dual wheels, on the left hand side, the majority, not all of them, but the majority of them are left hand thread and on the right hand side, passenger side, they're the right hand thread. So don't be like a guy about 30 years ago. I had a pickup, same style, left thread on the left hand side, right thread on the right hand side, and I was out of country, and he went ahead and decided to change a flat on my pickup. Why, I don't know. I mean, he didn't have access keys or anything. But anyways, when he did, he actually broke 6 out of the 8 lug studs. And when I got back about a month later, I actually had to go buy 8 brand new studs, because the 2 he didn't break, he actually stripped out and the nuts came off. That's the only reason he didn't break the last 2. But be aware, on these, there could be left hand thread or right hand thread. Now, I don't know if you can see it real well on the camera here, but there is an L on this, which indicates left hand thread. Like I said, I don't know if you can see it real well. It's right there beside the number 8. But before you start with a 1-inch impact or anything, look at them and see if there's an L or an R. Most of the time, if there's no letter on them, that means it's right hand thread. I haven't seen everything, so there could be some out there that don't have any letters on them and could be left hand thread, but I haven't seen any left hand thread that did not have an L on them. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this axle out, and there's some nuts in there I'm going to take off. Okay, we have run into a bit of a problem. Today's Saturday, so getting parts is kind of real hard, and getting the parts I need ain't going to be possible on a weekend, especially around Atlanta here, because every place closes early on Saturday. Now, I don't know if you can tell on the bearing here how rough it is or not, but now in here, if you look at this seal, you can see how bad this seal is, or I mean the race, not the seal. I got the seal out, and unfortunately this kind of puts me at a halt until Monday, because now I need bearings and races, and seeing how the outer bearing is as bad as it is, I'm not just going to replace just the outer one. This is my truck. A customer may say, hey, I only want to replace the one bearing and race, and I would tell them it's not a recommended practice, because you should change both the inner and outer. But this is my truck, it's my decision. I'm going to go ahead and replace the inner and outer together. That way I know they're both brand new, and put it all together, and I shouldn't have a problem with the wheel seal as long as I have the truck from this point on. I hope. It's one of those things where you really can't tell the future. Anyways, I'm kind of at a standstill until Monday. I showed you in a video when I did the front axle how to take the races in and out and the bearings and all that. So I'm not going to show it on this video. I may go ahead and pull the pinion seal on the rear end, because I'm kind of stuck right now. I can't run the truck the way it is, and it's leaking, so I might go ahead and pull that. Seeing how I got the wheels off, I can have easy access and do all that, and get the wheel bearings and races and that pinion seal hopefully Monday. With the supply issues, there's no guarantee I'm going to be able to get the parts Monday. But for now, I'm going to knock the races out of the hub, put a jack stand underneath it. I have a tire I want to mount, because I'm changing both tires on this position here. I got one that's got a flat spot on it from people pulling out in front of me. The tire keeps locking up on this one, probably because the wheel seal was leaking. The other tire right beside it keeps going flat. It's got some kind of slow leak in it. I can air it up, and it'll stay aired up for days and before it goes flat. So I'm just going to change both tires. I have some decent treaded tires. I'm going to go ahead and mount one. I already have one mounted. That way Monday, if I get the parts, I can put it all back together with those tires. Okay, well, I'll continue this video on Monday. Today's Saturday. Okay, here's a couple little tips. Now, I got the drive shaft all back up in, front cover back up. Got the hub all back together. One of the things, especially if it's your truck, this is a perfect opportunity for you to go ahead and grease the truck up. Start from the front or the back and go all the way through it, because you got to grease up the rear, the universal joint that just got put in. And you might as well check the fluid in the transmission, both rear ends at the same time, because you're going to have to more than likely put oil in the back rear end or the front rear end, because that's the one I tore apart. And the only reason you're going to do a wheel seal in that front cover like that is because it was leaking. So one, you've lost oil from the leak, and two, when you pulled the hub off, you lost some of the oil that stayed in the hub. Now here's another little trick that I've learned from experience. When you're pulling a hub off, go ahead and get the tires off and all that stuff. If the drum comes off without the hub, take the drum off. If you're going to be changing the brakes, change the brakes. But then what I do is, while the brakes are off and the hub drum's off and all that, before I pull the axle, I'll jack the jack up as high as possible to the top end of the jack, which what that does, it raises the side of the differential higher than the rest of it, so the side you're working on, the oil will run back into the center part of the rear end instead of just continuously running. And what that does two things. One, it will actually help save some of the oil in the rear end, and you're not losing a lot of it. Two, when you go to put the axle back in, you don't have oil running out, interfering with the mating surface where the gasket is, or silicone, whatever you happen to use to put the axle back in to seal it up. So that actually helps, because you don't have that stream of oil running down through the gasket, making the gasket wet, or running your silicone off, or whatever you used. But those are a couple little things that I would say go ahead and do, seeing how you just got done doing all this other work. Well, if this helps you or anybody else you are dealing with, please subscribe and hit the bell button and help me grow this channel so everybody can actually find it on the searches a lot easier. Well, everybody have a better day, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Thank you.